Before I went to bed last night, this is a fun story. I had a brilliant idea for a daily message. It was there. I was like, oh, that's perfect. I'm so excited. I know what I'm doing tomorrow. This is great. Wake up this morning, can't remember. Does anyone have that happen to them where they're like, oh, there's no way I'm going to forget that. And then if they don't write it down, it's instantly gone the next day. Anyways, that's where we're at today. But I had something else come up that I thought was a really, really great topic. And obviously it's something that everybody needs to hear. And that is the difference between gaining knowledge and having wisdom. Now, many people might think that these two things can be used interchangeably, and I understand that. For a long time, I used them interchangeably too, thinking they were one and the same. But here is the difference. Allow me to elaborate on what is taking place here when you're gaining knowledge and when you have wisdom. Because let's remember, we are human beings. We are wandering around the earth, we're having interactions, and we are taking in stimulus all day, every day. So really, we are gaining knowledge 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You get my meaning. I was going to say 365, but it goes without saying. Anyways, you might be reading articles. You might be watching TV, watching the news, on social media, learning about something, reading books, magazines, whatever it is. You are gaining knowledge. That is what you're doing. You're collecting information and you're bringing it into your person. So yes, this is a very important step, especially when we're talking about going through some sort of change or we're shifting from, where you are currently. Perhaps you're dealing with trauma, you're having feelings of low self-worth, you don't feel like you're deserving of having the life you want. And when you're working towards a goal of stepping into your confidence, stepping into your authenticity and recognizing how powerful you are and how much control you have in order to shift your reality, when you're in that journey, right, going from point A to point B, and this is going to look different for everybody. That's just kind of a brief example to give you a little bit of context as to what I'm talking about here. While you're on that path, it starts with knowledge. It truly does, because you start thinking, okay, if I'm feeling this way, why am I feeling the way I'm feeling now? What are the steps that I have to take in order to get from where I am now to where I want to be? Maybe you start watching YouTube videos. You start hitting up Google, asking Google questions. You start doing these types of things. That is you collecting knowledge, right? And you're putting it in the knowledge bucket. And I think where people get stuck is they're learning about all these things, they're reading all these things, they're having an understanding of them, but they're not seeing the actual shifts they want to see, and they're not getting to where they want to go because they're leaving it in the knowledge bucket as opposed to transmuting it into wisdom. So let's break down what wisdom is now. Wisdom is then taking the knowledge that you know, the information that you have gathered that is important to you, that makes sense to you, and practically taking it and using it practically in your own life in order to make the shift. And I think, like I said, that's where we get stuck sometimes, because we're like, I'm reading all this stuff, I'm listening to all these podcasts, I'm taking all this information in, but nothing's happening, nothing's changing. It's because you're missing a piece of the puzzle. The other part is taking what you know and applying it to your own life and starting to take steps to actually put that knowledge into play within your own life, because we can learn as much as we want. And I suffered from this a lot, I would say, in the beginning, where I was consuming, like so much so to the point where my brain was about to burst. But part of that is because I love to kind of look into things. And when I get on a subject, like I can spend hours reading about it, looking into it. I want to know all of the different facets, so I'm doing all this stuff. I'm like, this is great. I'm doing all these things to really change my life. And for me, I learned a lot about spirituality. That was something that I was really, really, really laser focused on. That was something that was of interest to me. So I'm gaining all this information, but I wasn't doing anything with it. It was just sitting in my knowledge bank, but I wasn't taking those things that I was learning and being like, okay, how can I make this fit into my own life? Because if this is what's resonating with me, and this is the information that, the direction that I want to go in, and the way I want to live my life, if I'm not actually doing the practical aspect of it, I'm still staying as is, right? So when you begin to shift from the knowledge and integrate all of it into your own life, that's when you start to see the shifts, right? Because that's when you start to see that wisdom piece come in, because you're living, breathing, embodying all of the information you're taking in, and you're using it as a catalyst to put you in the direction that you want to go in, to get towards that end goal. Does that make sense? Let me know if that doesn't make sense. Leave a comment and we can discuss it further. But I think where coaches, counselors, therapists, psychotherapists. Where we come into play on this journey is supporting people from taking this knowledge and moving it into wisdom, because it's a lot harder, practically speaking, to figure out ways in which to take what you already know or what you've learned and use it in a way that's going to take you to the next level, that's going to bring you to your final destination, or help you to redefine and rebuild the life that you actually want. And by bringing in the third party, by bringing in somebody whose area of specialty or their genius zone is helping or supporting, in my case, women get to that next level. It's like you already have the information within you because you've probably done your own research. You've probably done a lot of, you've listened to podcasts, you've done a lot of the self-help books, but you're not really sure how to move from one way to another. It's like you get stuck. And a lot of that has to do with our ego mind. Our ego mind, as we know, wants us to keep safe. It wants us to stay how things are. It doesn't want us to move on. It's a really fear-based way of thinking. So that's why a lot of times getting the support from somebody else is just what we need to shake the ego mind and be like, okay, I get it. You're trying to protect me. You want me to remain as is, but I can't do this any longer. I need to move to this next step. I need to move to this next part of my life, rebuild and redefine it, right? And that's where I come into play. Or, if not me, a different counselor, a different therapist, a life coach, whatever resonates with you, that's the next piece that's going to get you to where you want to go. So it is something to think about, and understanding and knowing the difference between knowledge and wisdom is a really powerful thing to understand, because it will give you some insight as to why, even though you feel like you've been doing so much work, you haven't yet gotten to where you want to go. So food for thought. Holy cow, 7 minutes. Geez Louise. Time to log off, get started on the day. But before I do, I hope you are happy, healthy, and abundant. And of course, make it a great day. Make it a great day. Make it a great day. I don't know what this is. Anyways, friend, I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.